as a Board of Education to prepare your interview questions when you get to that stage of the process. And the third bullet here is the board may get a sense of what the constituents, the stakeholders, are thinking about what the status of the district is right this second. And you can, the community and stakeholders should be able to use this profile report to find out what the strengths and challenges of the district are as of this week that we gathered these data. So we would encourage the board to release the entire report to the public. So just as a summary, we had 81 attendees for the focus group and open forums. We had 1,370 responses for the survey that was out there for about a week. Just to be fair, just because of the sampling methodology that we use, which is proprietary, this is not a scientific study and provides perceptions of those who responded or participated. So obviously, a lot of people did not participate in any way, shape, or form, so the board should give this whatever weight that they choose. But we're going to share the insights that we gathered through the themes that emerged through our conversations and through the survey data. When you get the report, we rounded percentages just to make it a little bit easier to review. So just to review, and we shared this with you earlier, these are the 4 questions that we asked the focus groups and the open forums. We had these conversations. What are the greatest strengths and attributes for the districts? In other words, what could we use to recruit candidates to apply for this position? What are some challenges that are part of the district's profile? What should a new superintendent know about these challenges that exist before he or she accepts the responsibility? What are some priorities out there? What are some things that need to be tackled sooner rather than later? And then again, the last part is what are the qualities and skills, experiences, personality traits that are important for the new superintendent to be successful at Francis Howell? To review the focus group and open forums, we had 14 meetings with people over a 2-day period and into the evenings last week. We had 81 attendees. We met with the school board first. We met with district administrators, including principals, building principals, community members, parents, teachers, staff, students, and volunteers. Here are the strengths that emerged from those conversations. There's a strong theme of academic excellence and student success. The 2 bullet points, just in brief, the district consistently maintains high academic standards, and you've got a very highly educated public as well as the teachers. You've got really strong, wide gamut of programs such as AP courses, Project Lead the Way, Spectra for gifted students, and robust special education and ESL offerings to make sure that all students are prepared for graduation and post-graduation success. The second big strength was an engaged and supportive community. People in this community really care about the schools that they send their students to. And even if they don't have students in the school, they really care about what's going on in the district. This district benefits from strong parental engagement, active parent-teacher organizations, and partnership with some community organizations like the police and fire departments. Many residents that we talked to, including the teachers who live in the district, say that the district has a very supportive environment with a small town feel. Everyone cares about each other, and that's a great thing for a new superintendent to know and to be part of. There's an exceptional set of extracurricular activities, both athletic and non-athletic, co-curricular, extracurricular activities, including a ranked journalism program and numerous opportunities for student involvement in clubs and sports. And if a student or a set of students wants to start a club, there's almost always a teacher ready to help that process along. So that's pretty cool. You've got a very dedicated, highly skilled staff. The teachers, administrators, and staff are committed to student success. Everything, all the decisions that are made are hopefully made with student success in mind. They demonstrate longevity, resilience, and collaboration with each other. Staff development and professional growth are prioritized with ample opportunities for training and shared decision-making. They have lots of PD, professional development opportunities, both inside and outside the district, which allows them to grow and learn as they pursue their careers at Francis Howell. Strong leadership and vision. The district is guided by a clear strategic plan, which is taking shape right now. It's almost finalized. And a culture that's part of the culture and climate of continuous improvement at Francis Howell. The Board of Education at times understands its role, empowering the superintendent and district leaders to focus on high expectations for all students and high academics. Here are some challenges. People that we spoke to, some people that we spoke to said that the board at times is contentious, somewhat polarized, often overreaching into daily operations and creating a volatile environment. Again, take this for what it's worth. Those are the people's opinions that we spoke with. There are some public clashes, political agendas, and lack of collaboration within the board that negatively impact trust and the district's focus on student success. Those are some perceptions that are out there. You can give those whatever weight you like. There has been somewhat, based on our conversations, an erosion of trust and community division. There's been some erosion between the district, community, and staff due to issues like, failed tax levies, past fiscal mismanagement that's been in the newspaper and other social media, and some rather public disputes. There are some perceptions of dishonesty and fiscal irresponsibility. They've damaged the district's reputation, making it difficult to rebuild relationships at times. There have been recently some high turnover and staffing challenges at all levels, including teachers, special education department staff, district leadership. This disrupts continuity and affects morale. There's been recruitment or retention of qualified staff that have been challenged, including filling high-level leadership positions. These remain ongoing challenges, and you know about those openings. There's some financial strain and some uncertainty moving forward. The inability to pass a tax levy has led to some resource limitations, some outdated and limited technology for student and staff use, and inadequate funding for some key programs. The depletion of ESSER funds, like all districts have, and the health and fund further exacerbate some of these fiscal challenges, especially into the future. This limits long-term planning and investments on behalf of the district. There have been some cultural and demographic shifts in the district. There are increasing challenges related to diversity and cultural competence, with some community members and some Board of Education members resisting possible change. Those things need to be discussed in open. There's been some polarization around social and political issues, including equity and inclusion. These polarizations undermine efforts to create a welcoming and supportive environment for all students and staff. Again, these are some challenges that emerge from our conversations. These are not our opinions, and these are things that you can give whatever weight you choose as the Board of Education. Some priorities for the superintendent in the first year. I'm going to go over these briefly. The person really needs to rebuild trust and strengthen relationships. The culture and climate has been damaged recently. Those relationships need to be rebuilt. This person needs to be able to, with the Board of Education, address the fiscal challenges and equity to make sure that people are taken care of and they have the resources they need to make sure that all students grow and learn. Some enhancement of accountability on all parts, including teachers and staff and principals and everybody across the board, and student achievement has to be number one. They have to build and unify leadership teams, both at the district level and at the building level. Those have been somewhat eroded over the past couple of years. To build a cohesive leadership team, including and especially the Board of Education, focus on collaboration, team building, and shared decision-making is very, very important for this new person in their first year. The vision for the district has to be communicated and executed very clearly from the get-go. He or she needs to be articulate and execute a clear district-wide vision aligned with the strategic plan and the school improvement plans. He or she needs to be visible, approachable, and proactive in engaging with the community all across the district to restore the district's reputation and highlight its strengths. It's a great district, but the reputation has been damaged. Desired skills and characteristics. This is the last question we asked. This person needs to be a collaborative and consensus building leader. This person needs to be student-centered, make decisions based on what's best for students, and compassionate. He or she needs to love students and care about students, number one. This person needs to be resilient and a courageous problem solver. This person needs a strong backbone and the courage to address contentious issues, defend staff when necessary, and stand firm on critical decisions. He or she needs to own those decisions. This person needs to be resilient in the face of challenges, including navigating some culture wars that are out there across our nation. some of the financial insecurities that we talked about, and some board dynamics, especially rebuilding the trust and collaboration that needs to be part of the team between the board and the superintendent. This person needs to be a visionary and a strategic communicator. Those are really critical issues that the person needs to have. And this person needs to be innovative and a fiscal savvy change agent. This person needs to be a creative thinker with a strong understanding of complex systems and fiscal acumen to navigate the fiscal challenges and resource equity to make sure that every student and every staff member has what he or she needs to advance student achievement. This person needs to be willing to innovate and lead transformative initiatives to improve the district while maintaining stability and preserving what works. Again, these are the gleanings that we took from the focus groups in the open forums and the survey responses. We didn't bring bias to the table. We don't know your district. We're getting to know the district very, very well, but these emerged from the 81 people and from the over 1,300 people that responded to the survey. I'm going to turn it over to Diane, who will talk about the survey questionnaire demographics and responses.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to just kind of go over what we gleaned from the survey. And again, board members and district will send to the district the copy of the survey so that can be posted on your district's website so that you can delve into more of the detail. But I'm just going to summarize some of the highlights that we gleaned from it. So we had exactly 1,370 people that took the survey. You can see the breakout of the numbers of those 1,370 respondents, and what category they identified as. There were some who questioned that they would have liked to have selected more than one category because they may be a parent and a staff member. That wasn't how our survey was set up, so the people chose the lens that they wanted to answer the survey in. Kevin, next slide. Here's the breakdown of the race and ethnicity of those who chose to answer on the survey. We did have some people who chose not to answer this question, but you can see that a majority was white. Several preferred not to answer, and then the other categories that go down the line there. There were 26 people who selected multiple answers. So my assumption there would be maybe a husband and wife took the survey together, a student and a parent took the survey together. And so when you get the actual survey, you will see that the percentages of the breakout won't actually add up to 100% because of some people who did select multiple answers. Kevin? So the perceived strengths, we had the survey broken into educational strengths and challenges, as well as managerial and organizational strengths and challenges. For the purposes of this slide presentation, we combine the strengths of both the educational side and the organizational management side. But when you get the final survey, you will see them broken down separately. So you can see the 5 highest ranking perceived strengths out of the forced choice list that we presented. Quality teaching staff, by and far the highest ranking. That is not untypical. That is usually what we see in surveys that we do in all of our searches, is that there's a highly qualified teaching staff. Communication is pretty good in this district from the people who took the survey. That's usually not near the top in surveys that we do in districts. Student safety is, half and half, almost 50%. Clean and attractive schools, and then positive, nurturing school learning environment. You can see that nearly a third of the people chose that as the 5th highest strength. And then that tells you something, is that everybody is not together on necessarily what the perceived strengths are. Usually if the community is really together and all in one boat, you will see a lot of 60s, 70s, and 80% up in this top area. And our 5th highest has 37% of the vote. So those are the perceived strengths. Perceived challenges, staff morale came in at the top. The district's understanding and support of diversity, racial equity and social justice, responsible stewardship of financial resources, and image of the district. we heard quite a bit about the financial resource issue. And there was a lot of dismay of the people that we were talking to, and comments on the survey to us that there's a big concern about that tax levy and inability to pass a tax levy. People are wondering why we can't let go of an issue that happened 20, 30 years ago with double counting of kindergarten students. That is not a current problem, current issue, but for some reason, people just can't let go of that and can't move forward and pass that. There was also the issue with the bond issue for the school, building the North High School, and the audit that just recently came out. And just want to remind people that that audit was from a couple of years ago. And since then, there have been changes in financial practices, and some of the issues that were identified in that audit have been addressed and have been corrected. So that audit, in some people's minds, is real recent, like just recently happened. So I just wanted to make that comment both to the board and to the public that sometimes the past mistakes are kind of tying the hands of what the here and now requires. And then finally, the image of the district. Kevin talked about that in the people that we talked to, that it has taken a hit. And we saw several comments in the survey about the image of the district being not as positive as it has been, due mainly to negative press and disgruntlement. Okay, next slide. So priorities for the new superintendent to focus on: student growth and achievement, 21st century skills. Those are job skills, basically how to work together, how to problem solve, how to use critical thinking skills, how to succeed in both college and career, as well as in workplace settings. Social and emotional health of students and respect for staff came in as a tie for third place. Skills and characteristics of the next superintendent: trustworthy, and that courage and integrity right there at the top. That is a pretty high mark. A lot of people, 69% of the people that took the survey chose that as number one. A clear vision for leading the schools. You're hearing some of the same things in the survey that we were hearing from the people that we talked to. A deep knowledge of curriculum and how teaching and learning works. Building good teams and bringing out the best in others, holding others and themselves accountable, being child-centered, and understanding the finance and the business side of the district. So when we put I'm sorry, then we had some other questions that were there. I know this print is pretty small. You'll be able to see it better in the report, but these are just some kind of take the pulse of the community on some feelings that they've got. You can see that the 69% strongly agree that they are proud of the schools and would recommend the school or district to someone else. Meeting social emotional health, not as high, but still more than 50% saying that we agree or strongly agree that the district is doing that. Adequate communication with the parents, the highest score, so your communication is really good. High expectations for student and staff, high. Then affecting the social justice and equity practices, not so high. And these next three: meeting the needs of English learners and students with IEPs, the special ed kids, meeting the needs of kids experiencing academic difficulties, and experiencing or meeting the needs of the gifted and talented students. Those are going to not have as high, I'm sorry, there's going to be more no opinion on those, because people who don't have kids in school wouldn't necessarily have an opinion on those. But out of all of those, the gifted and talented received the highest marks. And that was also true with the people that we talked to. People are very proud of the programs that you have for your gifted and talented students. And then do we provide enough extracurricular activities and sports opportunities for the student level of interest? That is also very high. There's a lot to do for kids. There are a lot of opportunities. And the students even commented, there's a lot for us to do. And if, like Kevin said, if there's not something that interests us, people in the district will make a way to make that happen so that we can participate. So we took everything that we found in the survey. We had 473 people who made individual comments to us, some just a sentence or two, some a lengthy paragraph or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 on that open-ended question of the survey. So we took all of that data. We took the data that we heard from the people that we talked to, and we came up with some, I think, 8 statements that we think would describe the type of candidate who could be successful potentially in the Francis Howell School District. So we're going to start going through those. So the first one would be someone who's visionary and strategic in their leadership and their planning. Someone who has a proven ability to develop, articulate, and implement a clear district-wide vision aligned with the strategic plan and the CSIP goals. Someone who's committed to fostering a culture of continuous improvement and high expectations for academic and extracurricular success. Someone who's experienced in leading districts with diverse program offerings, including the AP courses, Project Lead the Way, robust special ed and ESL services, gifted services, you name it. So the vision and the strategic planning for the district to be able to take it from where it is and move it forward. Secondly, someone with who has academic excellence and student-centered leadership. So they're passionate to advocate for student achievement and well-being with a history of prioritizing equity and ensuring resources meet all students' needs. Expertise in supporting gifted programs, addressing the needs of marginalized students. Kevin? Can you share your screen back again?
Can you see the screen yet?
Nope.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm sorry, I got cut off. Is that better?
That's much better.
Sorry about that.
I didn't have this totally memorized. Let's see, where was I? The second bullet point in number 2, expertise in supporting gifted programs, addressing the needs of marginalized students, and creating safe, inclusive environments for all learners. And then someone with a proven track record in enhancing accountability measures to drive academic performance and improve school climates. Also, someone that has the skill set of being collaborative and consensus building, skilled in bringing together diverse stakeholders, including the Board of Ed, staff, teachers, parents, and community members to build unity and foster a supportive environment. Someone experienced in navigating polarized boards and contentious issues with diplomacy, ensuring all voices are heard and valued. Number 4, the finance piece and problem solving. Someone who has strong fiscal expertise to address budget challenges, including tax levy failures and resource limitations. Someone who has demonstrated success in securing funding, managing resources equitably, and navigating financial uncertainties while ensuring sustainability. And a creative thinker who's capable of leading transformative initiatives to improve outdated systems and advance district goals. Number 5. Community engagement and trust building. Someone who's committed to rebuilding trust through transparent communication, integrity, and active engagement with staff, families, and community stakeholders. Someone skilled in leveraging partnerships with PTOs, local organizations, and community leaders to strengthen that district support and collaboration. Someone who's adept at creating a cohesive and inclusive district culture by building strong relationships with marginalized groups and key stakeholders. The 6th trait would be empowering leadership and team building. Someone experienced in hiring and supporting a cohesive leadership team, prioritizing collaboration, shared decision-making, and professional growth. Someone who advocates for empowering principals and district leaders with the tools and resources necessary to drive school-level improvements and innovation. Someone who is resilient and courageous, demonstrates a strong backbone and resilience in addressing contentious issues, defending staff, and standing firm on critical decisions. someone skilled in navigating cultural and political challenges, including diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts with empathy and humility. And finally, someone who has exceptional communication skills. They are clear and effective in communicating, who can articulate a compelling vision for the district while being transparent and approachable. Someone proactive in addressing challenges, celebrating successes, and sharing difficult news with clarity and honesty to maintain community trust. So we identified 4 core competencies that kind of are embedded in these statements that we just provided you. And those core competencies would be a cultural competence, a leadership in high-performing systems, crisis management, and a commitment to excellence. So Kevin, next slide.
So next steps would be for us to conduct interviews with candidates, and we've been reaching out and we've been recruiting, and we've got, I think, a good start on making sure that we've got some good people. But we will use these data and this profile to recruit even further, and making sure that our 60+ consultants across the nation do their job, and making sure we have a good slate to bring to the board. We'll recommend candidates to the board after we vet and interview all of them. The board will conduct first interviews and choose your 3 finalists. You'll hold your second interviews. We'll talk about this during the workshop that we do, the interview workshop, but we'll probably do some candidate presentations as part of that second set of interviews. The board will make a final selection of the candidate, conduct the reference checks, negotiate the contract with the candidate they selected, and hopefully have someone starting on July 1st, but hopefully named much sooner than that. And we'll take any questions you might have.
Questions, board?
And Adam and Jane, I will send that report to you as soon as we sign off this evening.
There were 1,370 responses. How does that compare to other school districts? Considering the size of our school district, did that seem like a high number or a low number to you?
It seemed pretty consistent with what we see. For the district your size, that's right in the ballpark of what we usually see.
So you feel like, considering the size of our district, 1,370 meets your threshold for a good cross sampling of the district? That 1,370 feels like you got an accurate picture.
Well,
that's difficult to say. We don't know if their person who lives next door to you, Stephen, or somebody that lives 5 miles away from you, and is it spread out through the district? We didn't ask for addresses, all that stuff. So it's hard to say. The numbers, I thought, the 1,370, I think, is a pretty good number. We were looking for around 1,250 based on the size of your district. So I think the responses numbers are pretty good. Is it a cross section? Who knows? That's difficult to say.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can you pull back open the slides there?
Sure.
Going back to the survey results for,
Give me a second here.
It's probably about halfway through. Forward one more. Okay, so no, back.
Okay.
That one here. Priorities for the new superintendent. So this is the online survey results. Is that correct?
Correct.
So am I understanding this correct, that of the people who answered the online survey, 48% of them thought that student growth and achievement should be the top priority for the superintendent?
Correct.
Meaning 52% didn't think that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's sprinkled through these other 3 things. How many options were there? And was it just these 4 things?
No. There were, oh gosh, on this one, probably maybe 12-ish, 12, 13. I don't know that off the top of my head. These were the ones that were picked the most often. So the top rated. So when you get the actual survey, we'll send you the actual survey data. You can see what other people chose and how it got kind of spread out and diluted as people went down the list.
Do I remember right? It was like pick your top three.
I think on this one it's pick your top four.
Top four.
So that's why we report top four. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's kind of what I thought. I just thought 48 seemed low for the student.
So
that-
even
I
so
just
even
wanted
that
to check.
means
So-
for top four things, only 48% pick student growth and achievement.
Yeah, I'm shocked that out of 1,000 or 1,300 people, that only half of them would pick that as one of the top four. I got more questions on the slide.
I apologize.
So then, as we move forward to the profile, the superintendent profile, I think it was maybe the last slide or so. Yeah,
Keep going.
yeah. Forward one more. Okay, so am I to understand that these are the competencies you're going to look for in a superintendent for Francis Howell?
We will use the previous 8 points to really do the check marks on who's the best fit for Francis Howell. So these 8 are the ones that we will use to do the vetting and recruiting and interviewing of candidates. The last slide is what we think, based on the data, are the things that the person has to be competent by to achieve those 8 profile numbers. Does that make sense? These attributes and qualifications are what we will look for in candidates to recommend to the board.
Okay, so as you go forward with the slide with just 4 bullets. Yes, this one. So demonstrated success in leading districts through demographic shifts and promoting equity and inclusivity. This is very charged. What I don't think we want is one of these people in education, and there's a lot of them, who become one of these diversity, equity, and inclusion cheerleaders. That's all they can do. That's all they can think about. We've had those people in the past. They didn't work out. Dr. Rumpus is not that kind of person, and he's worked out well. So I truly question this as one of the core competencies. Obviously, that's a survey result. There's people that in the district who are just those type of people who think that this is the most important thing in life. But I don't know that that's the it's not what I would be looking for as one of the 4 core competencies in a superintendent. So that one gives me pause. If that's who you're going to bring us resumes of 3 people who have this as one of their life goals for their career, that's concerning.
I certainly understand that. And not only was this resonated in the survey data that you'll get the full report this evening, but we heard this this competency talked about and with the 81 people we had with the focus groups and the open forums. Now, having said that, Randy, we won't bring you someone who is a DEI cheerleader and nothing else. But I also want to make sure that these are not for you to understand that these are not Diane or mine opinions. These are what has emerged from the people that we spoke to and the people who responded to the survey. Those are the data sources, and we are bringing those data forward to you. We know,
Oh, yeah.
and we want to make sure that you understand, and just like we understand and the public understands, we will bring a well-rounded set of candidates so that you can give whatever way you want to any of these data points and profile explanations and choose the person that you feel is the best fit for Francis Howell.
Yeah, I certainly understand these are the survey results, and if I understand, the point of this meeting is for the board to give you the nod to move forward with these as the competencies, and I guess that's my feedback for you, is that if these are the kind of some of the key skills you're going to be looking for, I'm not sure that person's going to work out it will lead to, that will lead to where we were a few years ago when it comes to things of, you want to call it, if people have called it culture wars and other things. We had very strong-minded, I'll just say DEI superintendents in the past, the two before Dr. Rumpus, and it has led to where we are.
I hear and value your comments, sir.
I also think what I don't see in here is, I suppose I see leadership in high-performing systems and experience with high academic standards, extracurricular offerings. Maybe this is more of a chief academic officer role, but I feel like academics should be first on this list. I realize they're not numbered.
Yeah, this is not rank ordered.
I hope not. Yes, these are crisis management. I agree. Commitment to excellence. These are kind of, I would say, core skills of any leader, CEO type, like a superintendent, certainly. Okay.
I have a question. So, Randy, I hear your concern that you definitely don't want the main strength or the main quality of a superintendent to be promoting equity and inclusivity. That your idea is that definitely should not be the main thing about a candidate. If it was the fifth, sixth, seventh thing that was on their mind, is that something that is possible? Or in other words, if they focus on academics, fiscal responsibility, crisis management, commitment to excellence, and then somewhere along the way, they're okay with having a district that works better for different people groups. Is that possible? Is that a candidate who we can consider? But the idea is you just don't want it to be somebody who is all about that as their first, second, and third priority.
I think that within this space, within these terms, which are highly charged. I mean, we all share the same vocabulary, but many of us share a different dictionary when we define these terms. And there is the type of leader who thinks about this all day. How can I make my numbers of this student this student group, match this student group more closely? And then I'm just arbitrarily setting goals based on race and other identity groups. And I don't think that's good. We need, when it comes to, inclusion or diversity and the way I define them, I think everyone would agree that we want to treat students as individuals. If an individual has a struggle with reading or some other aspect, whatever it may be, we certainly, we cater to that. We deal with that student on an individual basis. But when, all students with red hair come in, we don't say, oh my gosh, you're a red-haired student, I'm going to make sure you get this extra help. And that is, or I want to bring up all the scores of students with blue eyes. Those, I just don't think arbitrarily classifying students in that way is helpful. It's gotten us in all sorts of issues in the past, and I think I just think it's tough. So,
thank you.
We can classify students any which way. We can do it on race. We can look at how well firstborn students do versus second, thirdborn, single, only child, twins. We can find disparities between student groups any which way we slice it. And the best thing a superintendent can do is be supportive of an environment that values the individual student, and not focused on their reporting numbers to DESI or what have you. That's where I'm at with this when I talk about DEI. And there are definitely leaders who want to do social change as their role as superintendent, and that's,
Yep.
I don't think what I would,
Right.
I would not be in support of that.
So, Randy, thank you for clarifying that. I do appreciate you offering that. And for me, I know there's other things on this. Part of it is, so this is regarding these questions for Kevin and Diane. Do you have this broken up in terms of what the student said versus what the teacher said? Or I don't know how much that would shape it all, but I wonder how many of these answers, if you look at it from community members, even though that was only 50, students 179, staff 274, parents 854. It'd be just interesting to see how those numbers all broke down, like priorities. I don't know if that's something you can share with the board later. For me personally, and Rain, I think the idea that we all have the same vocabulary but different definitions, I think there's accuracy there. And for me, the word equity just means giving somebody the education they need, regardless if it's the same as the person next to them. And so, like, we have parents as teachers. Some kids get it, some kids don't. Some kids have paras, some kids sit in the front, some kids sit in the back, some kids have IEPs, some kids don't. And the idea for equity for me is you just give everybody the same education, regardless if it's different than the person next to them. And so maybe we get tripped up on some of the other words. And like you said, these words are very loaded. They're loaded because they get loaded, right? But when I see the word equity, I just mean every single person gets the right education that they need. And I see inclusivity, I just think it as when somebody's new to your school, you make sure they feel like they're absolutely welcome as they are. If somebody has an impairment one way or another, if they're in a wheelchair, we just want to make sure every student gets the best experience. And so whether that's number one, or maybe we should rank these, but I think underneath those definitions, I think it's a good thing to aim for superintendent.
Well, when I
yeah,
looked at those words as a teacher, and I would think about my class, I would want everyone in my class to think that I treated each of them equally and that I included everyone. And that's all that is. That's about giving everybody a fair shot and keeping your students equal, that you don't treat one better than the other. And I think that's so important to teachers.
Carolee, we agree on that. I think
Okay.
there are some who will, and this is a current practice actually, who use the term equity to mean that students meeting certain identity criteria can score lower than other students and for admission into certain programs. So to put that in teacher terms, if you have blue eyes, you need to score a 90 on a test to make an A. But if you have hazel eyes, we'll take an 88 and you can earn an A on your report card. That is what I'm against. That is what happens. I'm not using a real example there, but I have a real example at my fingertips if anyone's interested. So that is what this is the type of equity that, or type of, I would actually call it discrimination that happens in the name, and people, hold up an equity sign in front of it and say, well, we need to do this because of equity.
Well, it's treating everybody fairly. That's all that is. You can make it something else if you want, but it's treating people fairly and giving everybody an equal shot.
I agree with an equal shot. Yes, everyone plays by the same rules.
Yeah, I don't think we need to get bogged down with political ramifications of these words, and think of it in the educational environment and how teachers think of it. They're not thinking of it as a political thing. They're thinking of how do I treat everybody well, and how do I treat everybody in the best interest of them that they can achieve. Because it's very difficult when you have a room full of 25 kids and you've got a wide variation in abilities and IQs, talents, everything. And somehow you have to reach all of them. And you don't want any child to perceive that you favor any over the others. And I really think that's all we're talking about here.
I agree that kind of a leader would be ideal. All I'm saying is we've had leaders in the past who use the equity in the name of the type of things I was just talking about. And that is what I think most people would would have a problem with.
Well, it sounds like the conversation from the board is we all
Yes,
agree on what we feel it should be looking like.
yes.
Thank you. That helps Diane and I understand as well. And I appreciate the comments and the insights. Once you get the full report, there's going to be lots of data there for you to review, both individually and collectively as a board. And when we visit again, we will kind of work some of these details out. Adam, if you could do me a favor and look at the email I sent you earlier this week, or I forget now when I did it.
Yep.
And so we can work out some dates to make sure we meet your deadlines. I know those are important, but we've got to block out some times on our schedules as well to make sure that we meet your deadlines. And we want to make sure that at the end of the day, you get that one person that meets your needs and is a great fit for Francis Howell. That's our goal. And we're dedicated to making sure that takes place. Other questions you might have for Diane or me?
Yeah, I had one. I know we've been moving at warp speed here, but had the opportunity to review the contract that was signed. And I noted that the threshold to request more funding to be approved by the board for expenses was $18,500. What that means is that we originally, at least I did know that we signed a contract for $29,500, but instead the actual contract that was signed was for $48,000 before any additional board approval was needed. I think $18,500 in expenses is a rather large amount. Maybe a little oversight is needed. So I'm going to request that all expenses be submitted to me as treasurer with receipts monthly. If other board members would like to see them, I could submit them, or they can go directly to you guys to get a copy of them. Is that possible?
Can I address that?
Sure.
So Kevin and my expenses are detailed when we submit them. We do have copies of receipts, and we have it all detailed in what our expenses are.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that is an allowance. We very rarely get up to the amount that we use for cover for a
And that's
threshold.
fine.
Yeah, and we're happy to we'll be very transparent with you in that. But what the reason we make that kind of a high number to start with is, should we have candidates that are coming from out of state,
Mhm.
typically their expenses are covered.
Mhm.
And so if we would have a flight or a hotel and things like that, we want to make sure that we've got enough money that the board realizes that it could cost that much ultimately. Very rarely does it. We just want to make sure that we are not needing to come back to you saying, oh my gosh, we've blown through $29,000 of expenses. Now we need 14,000 more. I don't see that happening. I think 29 is like way kind of out there. You are not going to get near those kinds of expenses from Kevin and I. I can guarantee that.
I understand that, but I still would like to see those submitted monthly. So I would hope that by the end of this month, we'd be able to take a look at some of those.
Sure.
What also was missing in the contract was any allowance for an internal candidate. As you know, there is an internal candidate working through, I think, the necessary paperwork for the temporary assumption of the superintendent duties. I think that this might give us some extra time to make a not so hurried decision. And under item 18, so let me read to you the item number 18. If the board deems no final candidate can be chosen from those presented on the slate, the consultants will continue to present candidates for actual expenses only until the board signs a contract with the new superintendent. No consulting fee will be charged in addition. A couple of questions. I hope that doesn't mean in perpetuity, because that's already been remedied by case law. But all contracts that I have been involved in negotiations included an out clause for both parties. So does this contract only end when a new contract is signed?
I'm not an attorney, Jane, but that's my understanding. If you or some member of the board or your legal counsel wants to talk to our attorney, that's fine. I just don't want to render an opinion here in an open meeting that may be legally inaccurate.
Well, I'm wondering if you're willing, if we do find an internal candidate, if you're willing to cut your prices on that or somehow make an allowance on the contract.
Are
And
you
it's a-
talking about an internal candidate or an interim candidate?
Probably, maybe both.
An internal candidate, I think as we discussed at our original session, is that if there are any internal candidates, that they would go through the same exact process that outside candidates would go to, and that they would
Okay.
not receive any type of favoritism. So in our eyes, they are a legitimate candidate.
Okay.
Where I think that the price should stay the same should you decide to pick that internal candidate as your final candidate, because we've gone through the entire process, bringing you multiple candidates to look at. And as you interview and screen down, if you determine that the internal candidate is the best, then the process worked. Likewise, if you decide the internal candidate is not the best, the process worked, but they are treated just like all the other candidates.
Okay.
So I don't see where there should be an adjustment if you ultimately decide to pick the internal candidate, because technically you had that option to just go that way without even doing a search.
Right. It was,
If
like
you-
I said, it was done at warp speed, so there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity.
I understand that.
I understand.
I know.
I understand.
Absolutely.
It was- We're feeling that too, Jane.
I know. I know you are.
Typically,
And I
when we
appreciate,
start-
I
typically when-
appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, typically when we start a search, we would give a presentation to the entire board before a decision is made, where these kinds of questions would be asked, and we would explain our process and all of that kind of stuff. And
Right.
that's not how this one started. So we
Right.
kind of feel we were under the gun to start with, and we are on a very short time frame. We realize that.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
And I understand. I
Okay,
understand. So thank you for your responses.
Thank
good
you.
question.
Other questions for Diane or myself? We're getting to know your district. I'm thinking this is going to be a great opportunity for the right person. So thank you for your time this evening. And Adam and Jane Hepler, I'll be sending you that report this evening. We're hoping that you share that with your stakeholders on your website, and there's lots of details in there. I'm hoping the board takes some time as individual members to review the report. I think it'll add some light to the overview we shared with you tonight during the PowerPoint.
Great. No,
Could I just take a minute, Adam?
definitely. Yeah.
One of the things that we still are unresolved on are whether or not we're going to have community engagement participation in the interview process, or the board's just going to do the interview process themselves. And we need to nail down the exact dates for interviewing. We suggested some dates on that original timeline. We need to be able to know exactly which dates the board is available to interview, so that we can let candidates know as we are interviewing them find out what their commitments are. If we have a sitting superintendent, they may have a board meeting already scheduled, or some type of a finance committee meeting that they can't get out of. So we just really need to nail down those dates very soon, before, if at all possible, before we meet you next time, because the next time we meet you, we are presenting candidates to you. So we really need to know, like, in the next week.
Yep.
If
Me
at
and,
all-
me and Jane Hepler are working on that. We'll get that back to you.
I know you are, Adam. Thank you. I hate to put pressure on you, but
Nope,
but
no
you might have
worries.
people from out of town or whatever, and we want to make sure we're ready to make sure that we keep the board members happy.
Agreed.
Right.
No, I really appreciate all the time and effort. Appreciate you guys being flexible and doing the Zoom calls so we can keep the process rolling and save costs by not having all the travel.
Right.
Exactly. No
Thank you
mileage.
very much. Thank you guys. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board, oh, Adam, we'll have to adjourn.
Yep, I'm still here.
All right,
Yeah,
all right.
Yep. So board, like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, first by Director Cook, second by Director Ponder. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Thank you very much, everybody.